Howdy, y'all. It seems like the last 2 or 3 times I've been videoing seem like my lighting is not so good because I'm in my truck, my automobile. But for White Ugly, he said I should tell the levitating woman story. So I'm going to put a shot out to him. And I probably had maybe half a dozen or more people over the last 3 months that said, hey, if you got any extraterrestrial stories, really bizarre, peculiar murders, rapes, or anything, we have inquiring minds. Okay, well, here goes. Disclaimer, I was not on location. I was close, and we were en route to the location for this call, but they already had a backup and a supervisor on the way, so they discarded us. This is what they call the 10 sector in Dallas. Anyway, it's off of Ferguson Road, an apartment complex, and this is between 1978 and 1980. Can't remember exactly when, it's too many years ago. But the way it was told to me by the first backup male officer, okay, that a male and female officer that was riding dual in a patrol car got the call from some ladies talking about another lady that was disturbing the peace. So the male and female officer get to the scene. They knock on the door and somebody opens the door. This is about, the way he explained, about a dozen black ladies in all white dresses, robes, whatever you call it. They were all barefooted, and they all had in their left or right hand, he couldn't remember, or I can't remember, he probably could then, but whichever hand, they all had a white candle, and it was burning. And they were chanting and praying and asking God to help, and so the whoever seemed to be the lead woman of this religious group told the first policeman that got there, the man and woman, said, oh, God has sent you, you're my angels, God has sent you. And so, of course, he was arrogant and cocky, and he says, no, lady, you see this badge right here? Dallas Police. The Dallas Police, not Angel, Dallas Police, worse, and he could hear some hollering and screaming. He said, well, she's in there in that bedroom. Well, they went in the bedroom, and so this woman was levitating off a bed. So the female officer said, this is BS. So she runs her hand up underneath and above and on both ends. So she's looking around the room for some mirrors, or this is a gag. You know, some other officers are pulling a gag on them. Officers are really bad to pull some really strange pranks and cranks on each other, okay? I've had a lot of things happen to me. I did a few to other people, but mine were more subtle and more just a little quick shock value. But some were very elaborate. I'll tell you a story one time about police officers that put another police officer on an airplane to Mexico City from Dallas. I'll tell you that one of these days if y'all want to hear that too. But anyway, so this female officer decides that there's got to be a trick to this. This is not real. Well, the male officer tells her to cease and desist, like you're talking to a normal person. So she's urinating and defecating on herself and on the bed, and then so she starts to twirl around and around, like rolling, not necessarily fast, but just rolling around and making these voices like, rah, you know. It's the way he was explaining it to me. He's the backup guy, so he gets there just after they do, and so he's hearing this woman tell him the stuff about you're an angel and what he says. So he lets the two of them walk in, so he's standing in the hallway where he can see the two officers and he can watch all these women because he don't know what's going on. Well, anyway, about that time, they said the supervisor checked out that he was there, but you had to go around some passageways to get to this block in the complex. apartment complex. The apartment complex is still there to this day. I seen it recently when I drove by. Anyway, the female officer tells her she's going her ass to jail. She's stinky, nasty, she's hollering, she's yelling, she can't nobody get no sleep, can't nobody get no rest. And they said this was early evening, maybe 8, 9 o'clock, in the fall or the spring when it gets dark earlier. But anyway, so she gets like a handcuff on her, and that woman's fighting with her and still levitating and still twisting. So this female officer jumps on her. By the way, this woman is naked. She don't have no robe on, nothing. Not socks, nothing. Naked. And by the way, in case anybody else, this was a black female too. Not that that's relevant, but seems like all the damn paranormal stories always has white folks in it. Never no black folks. Like a friend of mine that was my assistant chief, I wrote it up. He said, Ghostbusters? He said, that's BS. He said, that black man in there, and it said when they put in there the ad, minorities are encouraged to apply. He said, look, man, he said, a brother here, said, he's going the other way. Hey, he's going the other way. He ain't going towards the town. He said, only white folks go towards, let's go see what it is. He said, a black man says, where is the exit out of here? So, I just say that because I think it's funny. So anyway, all the officers that responded were white, but all the women are black. Okay? And so this white female officer, she's rolling around with her, thrashing in the bed and all this other stuff, but they're still levitating. Well, she calls her friend, their partner, aren't you going to help me? He says, yeah. Well, it takes both of them to get the handcuffs on her. And they said they was afraid them handcuffs wasn't even going to last. So they took whatever sheets and blankets they could get and wrapped her up in them on top of them cuffs. And they said, the officer told me the story that was standing at the doorway. He said that female officer had all in her hair and all over, and urine all over her. So the male officer had some on him, but not that much. But said they got her down to Loose Sterrett Justice Center. Let's see, was that built then? Maybe not. Maybe they just opened it. Maybe it was the old city jail, because there was a point in there to where we went from the old city jail, which is where Lee Harvey Oswald was booked in, right where he was shot, and walked through there. I've been through that place 1,000 times. I've been in and out of that building and the book depository both so many times I can't count, back before it was a museum and all that stuff. I got a lot of stories about JFK if y'all want to hear some of those too. But anyway, he said the female officer, had to sit on top of the woman in the back seat, and it took some other officers getting her in there, and that was back before the days where all the cops had gloves. So they got crap in their fingernails and hands and stuff. Anyway, they get her down either to Loose Sterrett Justice Center, which was the county jail, where you had city prisoners and county prisoners from all the various cities in Dallas County, or it was downtown. But either way, whichever way it was, she went somewhere to the jail. Well, anyway, they had a Catholic priest sergeant, or there was a sergeant, but he was I believe a Catholic priest, or if not, he was of the Catholic Church, but I believe he was also a priest that had become a police officer after being a priest. But I don't know all those details, so I shouldn't say. But anyway, he took it upon himself, being the station sergeant, to call on the phone to a priest. Well, a priest come down, so the guy that seen all this, he had seen the man and the woman, because he was a backup escort to the jail. They got her out. They got her in a jail cell. They had a jail matron. Back in them days, they had matrons. So the jail matron dealt with getting her basically a rubber suit on, and she went to the rubber room for crazy people, Signal 20s. Can't remember what the crazy code in Texas was. That's so many years ago. But anyway, a mental subject. So they got her in there. Well, this priest, he come down there, and the sergeant let him in, and so he throws holy water on her and said it's like smoking up, like, you know, like you put water on a fire, it's smoking up, and she's hollering and screaming and just going berserko. So anyway, the sergeant said, "You better get out of the way and come out and let me shut this door. She's too wild and she's thrashing and carrying on." So he kept sitting out there praying and praying, had his Bible open. He was praying and praying. Said all of a sudden, this dark, nasty, filthy smell and black cloud kind of come out of this woman and went shoo, kind of like towards the wall and the ground, and this cloud just dissipated into it, and that woman collapsed. When they got in there, the woman didn't know squat. She talked right, she acted right, so I guess for lack of a better word, they had an exorcism at the Dallas City Jail or the Dallas County Jail by that priest. So the guy that was the backup guy, he stayed, he was watching all this. He was super fascinated. So he told me and probably 2 or 3 other guys, we went to Denny's, and of all times, you know, we're eating breakfast at like whatever time it was, you know, at 9 or 10 at night, or maybe it was the next night or whatever, but it's real late. I mean, it's close to the end of the shift, and people hadn't got no breaks, but it was quiet, so we all got a break. So it was 2 or 3 squad units, were 2 or 3 sectors come together, and we was at a Denny's. We went to Denny's a lot because they gave half-price meals to cops back then, and you know, the cops just didn't make that much money. Well, he was telling the story not just to me, but he was telling it to 3 or 4 other cops, and we laughed. And of course, you know, most of us had strong stomachs. We had seen so much and heard so much, but a couple of them, you know, they ate, but you could tell they just lost most of their appetite. So that's the levitating lady story. The female officer, the male officer, and the backup, you know, from my understanding, they all agreed to what exactly happened. There was no discrepancy. But my understanding was that her supervisor, the 210 supervisors, said she put in everything in there, just don't put that she was levitating. And she says, but that's a fact. He said, just leave it out, okay? We don't want to cause no controversy. We don't want no problems. And said levitating or not levitating is not relevant to the case. She fought with you and you arrested her for disturbing the peace. And, you know, and she said, what about the priest exorcised her? Can I do that too? And he said, no. Once you got her in jail, that's the end of the story. Said we can drop charges on her, you know. Said obviously she's either mental or there's something supernatural going on, and you can drop charges. She said, hell, I ain't dropping no charges. She's got battery on me. It's battery on my partner. He says, but she's either crazy or whatever, so that ain't going to go far. And then if they start depoting you, you're going to say, whoa, she was levitating. It just cracks me up. Okay, well, that's all I got. Hope y'all like the levitation story, and if y'all got something else y'all want to know about, let me know, and I'll do it just for y'all. And this is my Thanksgiving weirdo story, okay? I'll try and get another one up here in a day or two. We're jumping from place to place. I done been 2 or 3 states here recently, and when I wasn't doing that, I was resting up in bed, and I got better with my knee, and I had a problem with the other knee, and then poof, it got better, and I was better, and so I traveled, but yeah. Well, now I'm fixed to go rest again. Thank you. God bless y'all, and have a super great Jesus day. Bye-bye.